Hope everyone's well. Been about a month since I last did a video, so thought it was about time I create a little bit of content for you. I hope everyone is doing okay. As I say, I've not done a video for a long time. Probably the longest gap, or one of the longest gaps between videos since I've started the channel, which was over 3 years ago now. It's when you think about those 3 years and what's happened in those 3 years. And yeah, I've been really tired, really preoccupied, really busy, involved in lots of different things that are taking my time. And yeah, I'll tell you a bit more about that in a second. So first of all, just wanted to say the last video I did do was I put a request out there for anyone who had any good information and links to high quality studies, evidence in a link between, you know, the deadly medical procedure and heart problems, and lots of people did. Now I think I've got back to everybody who did send me emails or messages to say thanks. I hope I have anyway. If you're watching this and have not, or if you're anybody who sent me a message about anything else and I've not replied, I'm really sorry. I do always try to reply. Sometimes it can take a long time for me to catch up, just because, like I say, in my life I'm just snowed under all the time. But I really appreciate everybody who gets in touch, and appreciate everybody who sends me a message, and in particular I really do. I'm really grateful to anybody who responded to that request, because it is important what I'm doing at the moment. It's relating to the vaccine damage compensation scheme for my dad, and you know, as you can probably imagine, it's just more gaslighting, more lies, more just taking the absolute piss, and it's difficult, you know. It fits into the broader pattern, really, of everything. You know, everything you provide evidence, you back up your arguments with facts and stats, you provide high quality, you know, studies, data, whatever. You use reason and logic. That's notwithstanding the quite obvious aspect to all of this, that, you know, the jab killed my dad. Anyway, and you just get, you know, you get ignored, or you get as good as ignored by just receiving a load of gobbledygook back with no real answers, and just deflections and distractions. You know what it's like. It's like everything else. You know, it's like everything else. If you're dealing with an organisation, pretty much any organisation, they're all the same. They're all, almost without fail, large organisations co-opted by the establishment. They all fund each other, all massive conflicts of interest, all corrupt, all immoral, all unethical. You know it all, but that's what we're up against. However, that doesn't stop us from making sure we do the right thing, evidencing everything, putting everything on record. There's not many people who have been paid out by this scheme, which is actually funded by the taxpayer, as you'll know, because the big pharma producers of the, don't know what to call it anymore, the jab, have indemnity from prosecution. And I know that you know a lot of this, and a lot of these basic facts that surprisingly some people still aren't aware of. Most are, some somehow still aren't. It's all included within our response. But yeah, I did use a lot of the suggestions that people put forward, and you know, together with you know, other members of my family, particularly my mum, we've, as I say, put together a high quality response to their response to our initial letter, which was just unacceptable. So there we go. Thanks for that. What else? And thanks as well to Now, there may be some messages that I need to catch up with, particularly on Telegram. As I say, if I've not got back to anybody, it's not because I ignore or because I don't like you or anything like that. I'm just overwhelmed, and I have been for a long time, and I mean years, overwhelmed. And when you add in what's happened in the last few years, and this, obviously the stance that I've taken, and the position I've taken, and the sacrifice that I've made, I've put myself under a lot of pressure. I've felt incredible pressure, suffered incredible loss, seen the world tear itself apart. I'm still here. And you know, I don't think anything can knock me down, I'll be honest with you, but sometimes it's difficult, you know. It's straining every sinew every day, really, I'll be honest with you, to not to get by, but to do what needs to be done, you know, to try to do the right thing, and also to be of service to others, and also to somehow try to extract a little bit of enjoyment out of my own life that I can. You know, but sometimes it all gets on top of me, and you know that things will get put on the back burner. So again, if anybody has texted me or messaged me, Telegram, YouTube, email, and I've not got back to you, I will do in time. I always do, even if it's months later. But I appreciate all your support. I was just mentioning before, 3 years, over 3 years. I remember my first video. We've had a bit of a reconfiguration of this room since that first video. I've sorted that bookcase out over there. Can you see it? There it is. But they're just trivial, inconsequential details, aren't they? Because so much has happened in that 3 years. And when I look back at the content I've created, I don't really regret any of it. Got some things wrong, of course, but I've always, you know, shot from the hip, spoken as I found. But what I do always try to do is to evidence my claims, is to explain my opinions, my thoughts, my philosophies. I try to draw parallels. I try to use analogies. I try to add intrigue and interest. I try to tell stories. I try to be my own voice, try to be my own man. I try to offer something unique. I'll always try to do that. And when I go a long period without doing a video, it's probably because I feel that I've either not got anything to say, or I have got something to say but don't quite know how to say it. So, you know, I'm comfortable with going long periods without creating any content. The future of the channel, I don't know. As I say, I'm tired. Be honest with you, I'm very tired, run down. I have been for a long time. My priority is, I guess, slowly shifting to myself and to what I need to do to, as I say, try to not just extract a bit of enjoyment from my life, but maybe enjoy my life a little bit more. Try and tap into that calm a little bit more. Try to do some more work on myself, and try to, and I have taken many steps back now, and I'll try and explain why that is. So with the channel, yeah, I am certainly, you know, I'm certainly not bailing out, but probably expect less content unless I, you know, hit another spell where I'm energized and feel that I've got a lot to offer on a more regular basis. What I'm saying is I'm just not putting pressure on myself to you know, to get the phone out and to say something. You know, if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. I'm sure you'll all understand that. And yeah, so one of the reasons why I have decided that is because just take a kind of as an objective a view as possible about the state of the world at the moment. There's some positives, many negatives. We do have a parallel society, or we have the kind of like the chrysalis of a parallel society. We also do have some of the old world, and the best bits of the old world are still intact. Particularly around where I live, there's still a lot of tradition. The rural life is still very much in full swing. You know, you only need to take a walk or a drive around the local area where I live, and you see the old farms, you know, selling fresh eggs, and the farm shops at the local produce, and the garden centres that are the same as they always have been. The old inns and the old pubs, the thatch roofs, and selling delicious local food and real ales. And you know, you'll see, particularly at this time of the year, the summer fairs and the, you know, the school summer fetes and all this kind of stuff, all these things that have steeped in tradition and been going still the same as they always were. And I take a lot of heart from that. I try and absorb myself in that world as much as I can. Also, people, for example, where I live, local area, my neighbours are all lovely. I take a lot of, you know, a lot of, it raises my spirits, you know, to think that there are still these ways of life that I mainly associate with the past that are still prevalent to a large degree. You know, I've said for a long time, if you want my advice, get out as far out the city as possible. Far out the city as possible and get the mortgage paid off ASAP. They are the two biggest things you could do to help protect yourself in the years to come. Get out in the country and get the mortgage paid off. I've always associated with the country much more than the city anyway. I've always, you know, grew up and continue to live in a semi-suburban, semi-rural place. 5 minutes walk in 3 directions and I'm into the open countryside. It's winding country lanes and it's canal, the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. It's rolling, you know, green meadows and hedgerows and ancient churches and pubs and, as I say, local farms scattered around and twisty, windy country lanes. I love it. And that is me, and I am it, and no one will ever take that away from me, you know. And I've always loved the countryside. I've always loved tradition. I've always loved nature. I've always loved pubs. So that's that. And also I said about the parallel society, which is what I'm saying there, essentially. I don't see many truthers participating or offering solutions in a parallel society. And I'm sick to death of all that, as I've said probably on many occasions, the truthers and the continuing psychosis that many of them are under. I'll come back to them in a minute. So, yeah, I kind of just feel, I don't know whether you feel like this, that I'm part of like a small group of people who kind of just reject so much, particularly extremism, whether it's the extremism that is on offer by our government, not on offer, that is being forced on us by our government's media, big tech, big pharma, and, you know, corporate entities, including supermarkets and energy companies with their massively inflated prices, the tyranny that's being pushed on us by, as I say, the biomedical tyranny and propaganda pushed on us by the media, the governments and NGOs, blah, blah, blah. What was I going to say? My train of thoughts just gone there. Yeah, that's it. I reject all of that. I outrightly reject it. I outrightly reject and refuse to submit, to comply with an individual or an organisation which has neither the moral nor the legal, nor the ethical or any other right to tell me what to do. Now, you know all that, and a lot of you are the same. And I also reject I reject the extremism that creates in society. I'm appalled at the extremist views that many people hold, even though they're not their own views. They are opinions that are quite literally inserted into their brains by means of at the same time very overt and very surreptitious propaganda, but it's always ongoing, it's always relentless, it's always constant. We live amongst many extremists, people who will happily acquiesce to the most absurd and ludicrous demands placed upon them, who will happily do nothing to stop the ostracisation of others in society, the segregation of others in society, who will be part of a killing machine, who will stop children going to school, who will lock down hospitals, and who will do something really unspeakable when it comes to an untested medical procedure. And you know all about this now. There's many people, the majority, played some part in that extremism. Well, that's not me, you know. I'm not a political extremist. I'm not an economic extremist. I'm not an extremist in any way. I try not to be anyway. Although, and this is the ludicrously ironic point, is that I would be looked upon by many as the extremist simply for questioning this tyranny, totalitarianism and extremism, which may be not as obvious right now as life in some ways has returned to normal, but for anybody who's paying at the merest bit of attention, and that is me, I pay just the merest bit of attention now, a little tiny trivial bit of attention I give over to all this, can see that it's still all carrying on in many different guises at the moment. So no, and the other extremism is on display via the many different truther communities, many of which, most truthers are completely useless, pathetic, and need to grow up, in my opinion. So I don't. It's very ideological, and a lot of what's said, a lot of the beliefs, a lot of the doctrine that is espoused by many of these people, many of whom still unbelievably think that these people wearing white hats, the white hats, are coming to save the day. Still, loads of them think it's Trump. What I'll say about Trump is he's less bad. I'll say that about him, he's less bad. That's it. He's still bad. He's still owned. It's created the illusion, the illusion of choice, whilst that's what the establishment in the US have done, whilst at the same time bitterly divide America. If Trump truly was a good guy, he would come out and denounce the jab, wouldn't he? And now he'll know full well if he did that, he would have massive support. And why is the reason he's not? Well, because he's not allowed to. That's why. Because he's owned. But some people still think he's coming to say that it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic, and I don't have any truck with this. I don't. Save yourself. Save yourself. Be there for people around you. Do what you can in terms of taking responsibility and making those personal sacrifices for yourself and those loved ones around you. And everybody else, fuck them. That's what I say. Let them look after themselves. That's the point I'm at now. That's the point I'm at now. After everything that's happened, the horrendous journey that many of us have been through, the isolation at the start, the loneliness, the name calling, the sense that we were going mad, and then we slowly found each other. As I say, started off this channel, and one of the reasons I love this channel is because I feel I've got a connection with you, the subscriber. I feel we've got something unique here. It's a place where people can interact on some level of intellect, and it's a place I try to cultivate an atmosphere of around personal insight and conversation, and a rejection of meta narratives, grand narratives, a consideration of conspiracy theories. Are they true? Are they not true? Let's not just believe everything that the truthers tell us, even though one thing I can say, most of the conspiracies I've looked into are indeed that, a conspiracy, not conspiracy theory. They are a conspiracy against us. But that's one of the reasons I really like this channel, is that it's not like many other channels where it's the same people talking to the same people about the same things over and over and over and over again. I think we've got something a little bit different. I've learned much from people who've posted comments, who've recommended books, who've helped me to understand what's going on, who've extrapolated things that I've said and brought in a sharper clarity to enable me to understand the themes I'm trying to explore myself. And for that, I really do thank you. And there's a lot of good people here, good, kind, intelligent, open-hearted, open-minded, introspective people. And introspection, isn't that something that's massively lacking in society? I've come to the conclusion. Well, first of all, that don't be under any illusion. It's just my thought. The people aren't gonna stand together and rise up. It's just not gonna happen. It's naive to think that. If it's not happened now, it's not gonna happen. And why would it happen as well? Why would that happen? It probably doesn't need to happen either. That's not going to happen. What is happening instead is, I've talked about this. I've talked about a moral counter, and what have I called it? God, I can't even. A moral counter revolution and an intellectual counter revolution has been taking place for a long time. It's only small, very small, but it's powerful. It's significant. I often wonder about the books that have been read, the music that's been written, the art that's been created in the last few years that'll eventually find its way. That is the parallel society. Just because we live in this godless, atheistic, pessimistic, fatalistic, warped, insane, deranged world by and large, doesn't mean that it's exclusively bad. It's a bad society, it's a sick society, it's an insane society. Talking generally, yes, but not exclusively so. And I've given you some examples at the start of this video why it's not exclusively like that. But be under no illusions. Most people are severely mentally ill. They really are. Psychologically damaged beyond repair. In many different ways, in their inability to be able to spot what was going on relatively early doors, in the early days. Their inability to be able to find the courage and the wherewithal to be able to say no, their inability to be able to examine their own consciousness, their inability to be able to have a sensible, respectful conversation, to be able to listen to somebody and reflect back their views in the form of conversation, their inability to be able to, in any way, any trivial way, to be able to broaden their perception and their insight. Their inability to do the right thing, which was to say no. Their inability to now reflect back, even though they know what's happened, that they were lied to, that they were had, and their inability to be able to do that. And their seemingly unbounded ability to be able to just put up with the most severe form of psychological and physical abuse. That's the physical abuse. And without railing against it, and ability to be able to just seemingly just move on as if nothing happened, even though many of them were very, very vocal about what we should be doing in order to beat this invisible threat in 2020 and 2021 and even 2022. Our society is very, very poor. It's poor in mind and body and spirit. It's insane. And there's an important thing to remember as well, is to think of the ways in which, I'm doing this more and more. In what ways am I insane? And in what ways am I insane because of society, this insane, deranged, sick society imposing its will on me, and me not having the tools to be able to repel its malign influence. So think about that as well, I would say, because rare are the people who truly are able to rise above this society and see it for what it is, but not become embroiled in it, in all the worst aspects of it. So yeah, the parallel society's there. I've got one foot in one world, one foot in another world, but I'm still too entangled in the world I don't want to be in, and that's up to me, because there are things I can do to say no. I'm extricating myself from this aspect and this aspect and this aspect, even if I can't completely extricate myself. So but yes, the future, broadly speaking, it's not bright, really, because there's going to be a heavy price to pay. Well, there already is a price that many people are paying. You look at the number of excess deaths, for example. But this society will pay. And I saw a great quote the other day. I think it was from, how do you pronounce it? Circo, is it? I think it was a Roman senator or maybe a Roman philosopher, I'm not sure. And it struck a chord with me. It said, what society does to its children will do to society. And yeah, I know what that means. The children will take revenge. I've said it for a while. I really have. They'll take revenge. They will. And or they will be so psychologically damaged that they will be incapable of growing up to be fully functioning adults. And we don't have many of them anyway. When I say a fully functioning adult who takes responsibility, well, I've given you many examples of why in this video and in countless other videos of why most adults aren't actually adults. They are man-childs or spoiled little girls, you know, who, as I say, they don't have the maturity and the wherewithal to be able to have a sensible, balanced conversation. That most people cannot listen to an opinion that deviates even very slightly from that which has been endorsed by the establishment to them, and they will shut you down, tell you to shut up, or get upset with you. It's what most people are like, you know. It's like so many people have had, it's like there's something missing. It's like they've never been born with it, or it's some, I don't know, crucial element involving how to introspect, how to empathize, how to converse, how to think. They just don't have it. It's like, I don't know. It's like an invasion of the body snatchers or something. It's like millions of people were just zapped to another planet, operated on, and had half of the brain taken out. The parts of the brain, as I say, that are concerned with those feelings and those emotions. Because so many people, it's shocking. But that's just how it is. Most people, all they care about really is money and comfort. Money and comfort. That's it. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. You ask them what are their thoughts on philosophy, for example. You know, what are their thoughts on, what are your thoughts on modern European history, for example? I don't know, what are your thoughts on what's consciousness? I mean, here's some questions for you. That's what I was going to say. The reason our age is as so fucked up as it is because we do live in a godless age. We've rejected God, as Nietzsche predicted, by and large, although there is a little bit of a renaissance in some ways. But the new atheists and those who just declare themselves the most godless, the most the believers in evolutionary biology, and they reject God as an entity, as a belief, as a possibility. Many of these people also were the ones who have most wholeheartedly and keenly embraced this 21st century biomedical totalitarian surveillance state. Now, why is that? Because I would suggest their instinct for God is huge, and whilst they may say they reject a Christian version of God or spiritual version of God, they have an instinct for God, and it's manifesting in these very, very, very dangerous and warped beliefs and behaviours. Interestingly as well, most of these people have very little grasp of what science really is. They don't have curiosity. They don't have the ability to question they live via, you know, they operate via doctrine and via, via doctrine. It's almost like it's almost as if there are a series of commandments, as the 10 Commandments, or, you know, based on obedience and whatever. But this is something I need to do more thinking about. But these new atheists, the new world order of atheists who pin everything on rationalism and science underpins and explains everything, they are largely to blame for where we are now. Incidentally, you know, some of the greatest scientists that ever lived, Tesla was one, Einstein was another. They understood that there was magic at play. You know, science is actually ethereal, science is magical, science is mystical. Science is much of what is 99.99999% of science is not understood, is there to be challenged. That's what these people, these great minds who were also very humble, understood. You know, Einstein said, at its most pure and basic form, science can only be understood at the level of poetry. I think only some people would resonate with that, with what he means there. Yeah, so that's where am I? As I said at the start, I'm trying. I felt pressure. I felt for a long time. It's the last few years has taken it out of me. I'm tired, emotionally tired, physically tired, mentally tired, psychologically tired, spiritually tired. All of those things. I'm also waiting on. I've got to have more surgery on my knee. I think I've mentioned that before. And I've also got another problem as well, where I've had 2 hernia operations, so I'm in a bit of pain there. So what do you do in this situation? Well, it sometimes is difficult to try to pin meaning on life, and sometimes you have to question why do we have to ascertain meaning to our lives. Well, I think to come to the conclusion that nothing has any fundamental meaning or symbolism that's probably the hallmark of this new atheistic type movement that I talked about before, and it's all of its fatalism. You know, I can't go down that route. There has to be some deeper meaning and purpose to explain what's happened. And I guess for me, and society's continuing descent into this totalitarian hell, and I guess for me, a large part of it is just waking up each day and carrying on, a feeling of like not invincibility. I'm certainly not invincible, but hard to knock me down. I take a lot from that. And I do feel I'm always learning, and learning to create the space to allow other influences and opportunities to come my way. Now, one thing that I've realised is I stopped watching. I got off Telegram. I've got my own Telegram channel, and that's the only one I'm on. And I hardly ever post in there. I got off Telegram probably about 18 months, 24 months ago now. I don't really follow anyone anymore, as I say, in the awakened community, whatever you want to call it. It's just everyone saying the same thing and talking to the same people about the same things, and too much of I just don't think enough people get it. I just don't. I mean, I might be wrong, but what's shocked me hasn't been the waking up to don't like that term, as you know, but realising the absolute unfettered power that certain organisations and individuals in this world have, and how corrupt and evil they are. As shocking as that is, for me, it's been the realisation of what humans are really like, what human nature really is, with all its darkness, and that's what I've really struggled with. And I just don't think enough people get that still. It's only my opinion, and whenever I have a little dip into what's going on. It's very rare now. Because to be honest with you, I'm not interested. I know what's going on. But have a little dip, it's just the same thing. Oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, blah, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. No. You're not really part of the parallel society if all you're doing, you know, at this late stage, 2023, late 2023, nearly coming up to 3.5, 4 years, still obsessing over Bill Gates, over Klaus Schwab, over the Clinton Foundation, and letting your energy be consumed by what they're doing or not doing on a daily basis, or letting politics dictate, or whatever it is. Nah, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm sorry. I know the score now, and my take has always been to, well, parallel society is something where people really do grasp their own individuality, seize their autonomy, and crucially create something. You have to be in a parallel society, you have to create, you have to provide value. I've tried to do it with my book and my YouTube channel and the podcast I do with Paul. Yeah, am I successful? I don't know. You could be the judge of that, but I try. You've got to create, and you've got to offer something, whatever that is, not just share mindless crap around. And as far as I can see, it's still going on. I just don't want any part of that. So it's extreme. It's extremism. Extremism there, extremism there, extremism everywhere you look. Insanity everywhere you go and everywhere you look. Or should I say, you don't have to look hard to find it. But also, and this is, again, to return to the positives, you don't have to look far to see good things as well. You know, so... There was one other thing I was going to say, and I can't... that's it, yes. I am now at the point in my life where I need something else to explain. This might be the longest video I've ever done. To explain my dilemma, society's dilemma, to try to give me some understanding of why the world is as it is, of why I've undergone such suffering, of why I've taken the stand I have. What I'm trying to say is I now need a deeper understanding of what it is to be human, of human nature and of human societies. I want to try to learn more about historical parallels. I want to find out more about maybe some archetypes to try to give me that deeper sense of meaning, to give me that deeper sense of understanding, because right now, from that perspective, I'm struggling, you know. So for that reason, it's like I'm being called to read some classic literature, you know. I mean, I am a reader, but I don't read anywhere near enough. And there's nothing that can stimulate creativity and your imagination like reading can. And because it's becoming increasingly difficult to find and engage in stimulating conversation with other human beings, are they fully human, most people? Maybe that's why I'm being called to read some classics. So anyway, if anyone's got any recommendations, particularly if you've listened to everything I've said here and you recommend any book that you think might be good for me to read, then let me know. I'm actually going on holiday to Spain on Monday. Me and Sarah, we're going to Seville, where I used to live, for 3 days. It's absolutely roasting, 42 degrees at the moment, so it's going to be hot. But I'm sure I'm not gonna, you know, step off the plane and instantly melt, you know, into a little pool of molten lava on the tarmac of the runway like the BBC would have you believe. So I'll let you know if I get back from the cauldron of Seville. And we're going to Seville, and then we're going to Cadiz for another about 6 or 7 days for a wedding. So that'll be nice. I'm looking forward to it. I'll try and do a video while I'm there. Tell you why I love Spain so much, but I'm interested to go back to Spain. I absolutely can't wait for the food. I love the food. I love Spain. I love Spanish cuisine. So looking forward to diving head first into the tapas particular. But back to what I was saying, if anyone's got any recommendations, maybe anything I can read on holiday, please do let me know. Thanks again. I think this is comfortably the longest video I've ever done. And yeah, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know if there's any parallels in your own life with what I'm saying. I'd be very keen to hear your views on the extremism that I have referred to, whether you agree or not, how you see things at the moment, just anything at all. Say, write what you want, I don't care, but I do care about all of you wonderful people, subscribers, and I'll keep the channel going. I just might not be posting quite as often as I once did. Right, 40.5 minutes to go. Don't forget to subscribe and give this a thumbs up if you don't mind. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.